Hey folks, I'm Sean C. Davis. I'm going through naming exercises constantly. And I had something kind of amazing happen yesterday, and I want to tell you about it. And so I've titled this little session Product Names, Feelings, and Bear Hugs. So let's kind of walk through the background a little bit. First off, have you noticed all of the names of things? By the way, I had full disclosure here. I had Claude do research on names of AI tools, and I have no idea at all if these are correct, or not correct, but if they're actual tool names. But I think I recognize some of them. So if these are, in fact, real tools, yeah, so they can basically be used interchangeably, and it just feels like they're designed to be like super cool. This is the next amazing thing. It's going to change the world. I need some investment money, please, pretty please. And for users coming in, you're like, yeah, this doesn't seem very warm or inviting or anything like that. So these names suck. Sorry if you work for any of these companies or came up with this name. It's just, it's boring and homogenous. And I'm coming up with names all the time. And everything still needs a name. Like, we got to come up with something. We're human. We like to label things. We like to put things in boxes. It's how we operate. It doesn't matter. Like, I can come up with a generic name for anything, right? Like, I could be like, okay, well, I got this new project coming up, so it's project number 41, whatever. But eventually, it's going to need a name. And it's just easier to come up with something right away. And what I usually like to do, I lean towards metaphors in some way. You know, like if this is a logging system, let's think about logging, the actual action. That's not it. I don't know. However you log today. And then we're going to create some word that is tied to that. And I think that it definitely ties back to these ridiculous names. Like, they're trying to be metaphorical. They're trying to be hyperbolic. It's fine. It's fine. And it's often how I name too. I go on a walk. I put my headphones in. Sometimes I'm just rambling. Sometimes I'm actually in voice mode with Claude or ChatGPT. And just like riffing, and usually come up with something that's decent. But, you know, like for example, the name I think is decent, but it is perfect here is I have an app that I use to track the progress of my garden and my houseplants, and I call it Botanicard, because it's like botanical plus data card, right? You know, just a little portmanteau for you. And so it's a nice name. It's a made up word. It works, but it's the avenue I go down every time. And things got a little messy this week because, as I've noted in videos that are either just dropped or will drop, I'm kind of forming this vision of how I'm going to build this ecosystem that works for me. And it took a lot to work through it. And I got all these names kind of tangled up. And the reason for that was because the projects themselves, well, I think okay. We got this slide here, right? There are 3 reasons for it. One is that the projects themselves got tangled up. They really did. Like, it was hard to understand which project was doing which thing, and I had to like really untangle the mess to build the right architecture. And at the same time, a lot of what I was working on was kind of like a next generation of things that I've already built, but the things that I've already built are going to continue to exist, while I have the new things. So even if I like the old names and I want to move it to the new thing, do they both have the same name for a little while? And it just gets really confusing. And then I have this name that I keep carrying everywhere, which is Rocktree, and I've used Rocktree for 15 years for a lot of different things. This is I'm emotionally attached to it, and I want it to really actually be something someday. And so it just ends up being a bunch of other things. And so I decided to kind of make it the collection of everything. So here's what happened the other day. I was doing what I do, just kind of like planning, typing with either Claude or Codex, and going through round after round after round of all these names, trying to make sense of this architectural system and what to call the various components just in case they were to get productized, whatever, way overthinking it, right? And then I saw this line, and it's a little embarrassing to note that, it came from an AI agent, but it's genuinely was a great thought. And what it had said was, lean into what the feeling that you want somebody to have when they see that name. And then it gave 4 examples that were all metaphors, but it was like, this is the feeling the metaphor evokes. And so I went on this walk with that idea kind of nagging at me, and I was like, yeah, it's not, I think this is interesting. It's not the combination of the name and the metaphor, or of the feeling and the metaphor. Like, it's the feeling. It's the feeling. The metaphor is the metaphor. And it's kind of like, who gives a shit what the metaphor actually is or isn't? If it's a portmanteau, if it's a made-up word, it doesn't matter. It's the feeling that matters. And we're in an age, we talk about this a lot, we're in an age where it's really important to be very specific when we're writing documentation or any sort of material that agents need to work with, because you cannot be confusing with language, because the agents will get confused. So the names matter only in so far as they need to be consistent in how they get applied to explaining what they are. That's as far as they go. As long as the agent can understand what the thing is, you're good to go. And so I started realizing, well, we could just come up with, made up words. And so I'm calling this the Schmonz Principle. Because there was this word, Schmonz, which it has a meaning now between me and a few friends. It was just some word sound that a former coworker said many, many years ago. And I kind of co-opted it to mean this other thing. And I'm not going to get into that, but it was just a sound that became a word, and it meant something to me. The person who said it, I think it means something totally different to her, and it's totally fine. And so I was on this walk, and I was like, the Schmonz Principle. Yeah. So I didn't come up with that term right away, but I was like, Schmonz, like something that doesn't mean anything, and it's more about how does the word make you feel? How does it make you feel? And so I came back, and that was the next round of brainstorming. It was like, okay, we're going to beta test this. You give me a bunch of just complete nonsense, and I'm going to tell you how much joy it brings me. The Schmonz Principle is beta test your names with joy. That's all that matters, right? So here's some examples that it came back with. And I was just reading through the list and like cracking up, and the instruction was read them out loud. And I was like, well, yeah, I was going to do it anyways. But yeah, doozle, glomp, bibble, fwomp, womp, pronk, biffle, quonk, wibble. Like, great. Meaningless, right? Meaningless. In most cases, I actually Googled a few of these, and I came to find out that there was one, I forget what the word was. Oh yeah, it was. I came across it last night. I was reading my kids the Lorax, and there's a word in there because Dr. Seuss is always. This is great. It's like it's kind of called the Schmonz Principle. It could be the Seuss Principle. Um, there's a word in there, gazump, and I was like, oh, I wonder if that one's available because that would be kind of cool. And it turns out that is a word that is used and it has like a specific meaning. Um, anyways, so we took these and then you can make them mean something. And so I played around with a few different ideas, and eventually the one that stuck was cubster. And the reason that was because what I tend to do is I take the, like, give me 40 ideas or whatever, right? And it dumps them out. And I'm like, okay, now if we're doing the Schmonz principle here, I'm going to read them all out loud. And I'm going to note the ones that I feel like brought me joy for whatever reason or just felt better, write those down and say, go research these. And in this particular case, because of the type of tool it was, I had 4 criteria in mind. Depending on what you're trying to create a name for, it might be a little bit different, but was where would this go on GitHub? Do we have access to claim it on NPM? Can I get a reasonable domain extension for it? And just in general, what's the space like around it? And so we landed on Cubster, and it just feels good, right? It's like baby bear hugs. I was actually in part of that walk. I was like, I mean, I like bears, but you just say bear, you say something generic about a bear, like all those names are going to be taken. At least if you look at these 4 categories, it's going to hit. What you have something with bear in it, like bear hug or brown bear or something. I mean, there's a brown bear bakery right down the street from me, right? Like it's gonna hit one of these I don't know what you call them, categories, and make it seem like, okay, it's not a good idea. It's awesome. It's a good idea. It's just you shouldn't do that because that space is not available. Now, I will pick names and not do this process if I am not trying to pick a name that's going to stick, right? Like Botanicard, I didn't go through this for that because I don't give a shit. Like that name is whatever. That's an internal thing for me. I'm never going to share that with other folks. If I do, I would come up with a better name probably. But this one was one where I'm like, I want this thing to be a thing, and so we landed on Cubster. And so it's, it's really hard right now to get just plain old bear NPM names, because if they are anything like another name that is established, it's not going to let you take that space. There's so much just nastiness that's happening in that space right now, but you can take the scope. And so the scope is available. The GitHub org, I don't even know if it was sitting there, but we were like, well, yeah, but it can be a repo within this other org that's going to own the thing. That's fine. The domain for me was available. I forget which one I got. I think maybe .dev or something like that, because somebody might be squatting on the .com, but there's enough domain extensions that it's fine. And then it was unique enough that it was like, yeah, there's some car aficionados, and there was a 1949 model of something or other, and some people are going to recognize it for that. Most of the people that would consume this tool aren't going to care at all about that. So if I get established with this thing, it's fine. So look, naming is hard. That's why I think you should pick something that makes you smile. I think you should pick something that brings joy in your life. It doesn't have to have any meaning at all. It passes the criteria that you need for that thing to be valid, and it brings you joy. It's going to bring your users joy. That's going to come through. And I think that was a thing that I've I should have known for many years because I've been naming things for many years, and it's the thing I'm going to use moving forward. So I think you should take the Schmonz Principle, adopt it as well. Subscribe for more ridiculous, goofy conference talks like this. I'm Sean C. Davis. I will see you next time.